All right, we're getting ready to change the rear differential fluid. I do this every 15,000 miles. So this is gonna take Honda dual pump fluid 2. Get this at your Honda parts department, get 2 quarts. The owner's manual will say 1.92 quarts. So you're not gonna be able to measure 0.08 quarts. So just put in 2 quarts and you'll be good. So typically you always undo the fill bolt first, because if you do the drain bolt first and you drain all your fluid and then for some reason you can't loosen your fill bolt, then you're stuck with a differential with no fluid and you're in trouble. If you try to get your fill bolt off first and you need help or whatever, you haven't heard anything. So always do the fill bolt first, get it loosened, then take off your drain bolt, drain your fluid. Then you're gonna replace your crush washer on your drain bolt, which is, I believe it's 18 millimeters on that crush washer. Gonna torque it down to 35 pound-feet. Then we'll take off our fill bolt that we've already broken free. We will fill it up with the 2 quarts, and then we'll replace our 20 millimeter crush washer on the fill bolt and torque it down to 35 pound-feet. Also, your drain bolt on this is gonna have a built-in magnet, and I'll show you that when we get to that step. That's where your metal shavings will stick to. So you're gonna wanna wipe that clean. So I recommend doing this every 15,000 miles, at least up to 60,000 miles. If at 60,000 miles, you're not seeing hardly any at all metal shavings on your magnet and your fluid's clean, it could probably go on a 30,000 mile interval with your transmission fluid and your transfer assembly fluid. But I keep it at 15,000 to 60,000 miles. And then kind of wait and see after that, depending on what I think. So we're gonna go ahead and show you all that, but it's dark now. I've got lights, so I'll be able to video, but I just wanted to explain it first while I can show you everything. So there is no socket to loosen for these fill bolt and drain bolt. It just is a square that fits your 3/8 inch socket. So whatever ratchet you have, a 3/8 inch ratchet, that square attachment, that's what you put in there. So I have a few options. I have a 3/8 inch extendable ratchet so I can get a little torque. I have a 3/8 inch breaker bar so I can get, whatever angle I need. If I need more torque, I have a pipe I can stick on the end of this and get more torque. I also I put these real gloves on top of my latex gloves so they have padded knuckles and back, because sometimes it's difficult to get these bolts broke free. So anyway, I will be using the gloves because of that reason. And also, again, the torque spec is 35 foot-pounds. So let's get started, and I will do my best. Also, I'm going to share with you real quickly a tool I'm excited about using that I'll put links in the description to fill the rear diff fluid. This is a Mighty Vac 1.5 liter fluid dispenser, and so I'm going to be able to use this to put these in two, just 2 fill-ups. So this is good because I used to use the small Mighty Vac, and I think it took me 12 times to get 2 quarts in there. So now that I have the big one, I can do it in 2. And when I do the transfer assembly fluid in the front on my V6 Hondas, I can do it in 1 because they only take a 1/2 quart. So I'm excited to try this out for the first time. So let's get started. Okay, so I forgot to mention, you also want a 3/8 inch socket extension for this, and I'll show you why when I get under there. notice that I have relocated my jack stand, my floor jack, from this center jack point location to over here. And I grabbed another floor jack and put it over here. I would never jack from these locations. They are not jack points. They're there to help save my life if I have a jack stand failure. I can't leave it here because that's right where I'm working. So that's what I do. You might want to find a better location, but that's what I use. So now I'm gonna have to grab the camera for my wife to show you what I'm doing here. So I'm gonna use my pipe. This is always a tough one. Always a bear. Always a bear to get that one. So I recommend having a breaker bar with a pipe for that one. Because it is something. So now that I got it broke free, I'm going to use my little ratchet. Breaking that one free is always fun. Okay, before I take that out, I need to show you what I did. So what I do is I go through this hole in the frame with my extension, because right on the other side of that beam is just a little gap, and then that's your fill bolt. And so you can get to it from this narrow access, but it's so much easier to use an extension and come from back there. So this is what I broke free right here. That's your fill bolt, okay? And so I'm just leaving that in there to show you where it was, because I already got the bolt out. There it is. And that's the 20 millimeter crush washer that we will replace. You always want to make sure your crush washers come off. So our drain bolt that we're going to do next, just for reference, there's our fill bolt. So now, you know, this is the driver's side of the vehicle, and this is our drain bolt. So this is, when we take this off, this is going to have our magnet as part of that bolt, and that's where our 2 quarts of fluid is going to drain. So we're going to do that next. Okay, so this is our drain bolt. We have our breaker bar in there, but no pipe right now. Just going to see what we can do. Okay. It's just very difficult in a position like this. If it were up on a lift, it'd be easy if you're standing up and this was higher, but when you're laying down, it's hard to get the angle you need, so the pipe helps out a lot. Okay, so that just breaks it free, and then I just get rid of my pipe and my breaker bar. And then what I want to do, I want to get my drain pan in place, because that's going to come shooting out of there. I'm going to use my little screwdriver, my ratcheting battery operated ratchet. There it is. Okay. And that's draining. Wipe the oil off of this extension. Make make sure I slide my pan back as it's dripping straight down now. So my drain bolt, you probably heard it fall. So it's right here. I'm gonna take off my nice glove and get back to my, now that I'm done untorquing those 2 bolts. They're very difficult to do. I don't need these padded gloves any longer. Just my regular gloves. So now I can grab this drain bolt out of my pan. So what you're gonna see here, you see this is where we loosened. There's your threads. There's our crush washer. So our crush washer made it off successfully. And what you're looking at there is a magnet right here. And when I wipe it with this rag, you will see some metal, but I can tell you right now, after 15,000 miles, that is an extremely clean magnet. And that fluid also looks pretty clean. So look at how little metal that is. You should see what these look like after the first change. They drastically improve every time you change it. So the first change at 15,000 will be pretty dirty because there's some break-in period. That is almost nothing. The little different coloring there is little bits of metal from gears and things breaking in, but it's almost nothing. So we wipe that magnet clean. We remove this old crush washer, which is a 18 millimeter. And again, I'll put links to all the parts you need in the video description, including crush washers, torque specs, everything. So after years of doing this on various Hondas, and I've been very careful to always follow the torque specs, it is unbelievable how when you put it on at 35 foot-pounds, how much torque it takes. It's just ridiculous to get these off, because the oil change bolt, the oil drain bolt, is 30 foot-pounds, and it's easy. So starting right now, I'm gonna switch this to 30 because I'm gonna hurt myself trying to get those bolts off from under here. And so I'm gonna actually put these back to 30, but I want you to know the spec is 35 foot-pounds. So you can do what you want, and I will do what I want. I'm gonna try it at 30 because, man, it is so difficult to get those off. All right, so you can tell that is barely dripping now. So I'm gonna wipe that clean. I'm gonna wipe that surface clean. I'm gonna hand tighten we have a brand new crush washer. And we have, a fill bolt that's removed. So I hand tighten that all the way till it contacts the base. Prevents you from cross threading, and it also stops any drippage. So you can kind of wipe it clean. You can get rid of your oil drain pan. Well, we're going to want the plastic sheeting, but I don't need the drain pan in my way. So now I'm going to grab my torque wrench, which I had set at 35, but I've already adjusted that down to 30 for reasons just mentioned. And I am going to use the extension to get me away from contacting everything there. Okay. So I'm going to torque this to 30 foot-pounds. All right. And see how that does. All right. experiment. I'm gonna do like 32. Let's see what that'll do. It did seem extremely easy. I'm gonna go to 32 instead of 35. Okay, I don't think that really mattered. All right. So now we're gonna get our 2 quarts in our Mighty Vac, and I'm gonna go ahead and use the same access hole in the frame as I used to get that out. I'm gonna put the tube through this access hole into the fill, and I'm gonna put in 2 quarts of fluid. Okay, so we poured the 2 quarts into this pitcher instead of trying to work out of the quart bottle where I couldn't see. And so now I'm just pulling up the syringe. Okay, so this has a turn right here. This turns, so it's open now, which means that I can draw fluid up, but it also means that if I stop, it's going to let it back out. So what I need to do is leave it open to draw it up, and then close it by turning it like that, just like a quarter turn. And then before I take my the end out. So I'm going to draw it like this, and then I'm going to close that. Okay, so now I'm going to close that. I'm going to give this a chance for anything that's in the tube to leak out in my pitcher. So you'll see in this first one that I have a good amount of my 2 quarts. I have most of it. So I'm going to use a rag. I'm going to kind of wipe this tube down as I go to the end. Then I'm going to hold it up here like this. What this allows me to do is only get under here twice. I used to have to do it 12 times with the other one, which I still liked better than the little pump that you screw onto a quart bottle. It takes like well over 100 pumps to get 2 quarts in. So that's, yeah, I did that for enough years before I figured out a better way. So I feed it through the same access port that I used for my 3/8 inch socket. I need my plastic sheeting back here to catch any drips. So now that I'm in there, I'm gonna loosen up. There is an open close label on this plastic thing, and I just need to, it's my first time using it, I need to hold the hose in there while I'm pushing, and that's kind of gonna be the hard part. Okay. So at this point I haven't spilled any. Let's see how this works. So now I'm almost done. I've got a little bit left. So I think the challenge, is going to be getting all of it in there because of the stuff that's in the tube. But that's kind of the way all the tubes work, even the ones with the quart bottle. So, all right. So here's what I'm going to do. I've still got that thing open. So now I've got my plunger down at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and draw up as much as I can. Okay, so get it fed back in there before I open up the valve. I'm going to open it, and then I'm going to start pushing the plunger. Okay. Okay. So that's the 2 quarts. So now I'm going to take a rag, just make sure that's dry, and it is. We actually didn't leak anything, so that's good. I got my new crush washer on the bolt, or 20 millimeter crush washer. You know, start things by hand. So you can see that, no cross threading. And go by hand until I contact the base. Okay, I've contacted the base. So again, instead of the 35, I'm going to go with the 32 foot-pounds, just because of how much of a bear it is to get that off. Okay, there it is. All right, so we put 2 quarts in. There's going to naturally be a few drops that you miss. So what you could do, what I did was, I knew it takes 2 quarts, so I just bought 2 quarts. But you're going to have more than 0.08 quarts and fluid loss, so you're not going to get it dripping out the fill bolt. So if you want to buy a 3rd quart, you could keep putting it in the fill bolt until it started to overflow and drip out. I just know it takes 1.92 quarts, so if I buy 2 quarts and I use all of it and all I have is just a couple drops that doesn't make it in, I know it's right up to the fill line. So that's what I did. But you're welcome to buy a 3rd quart so that you can make it drip out if you want to. So we have the magnet clean on the drain bolt. We have new crush washers on our drain bolt and fill bolt. We have all our new 2 quarts of fluid in, and we have everything torqued down. The Honda torque spec is 35 foot-pounds. I did these to 32 this time because of how difficult they are to get off. So that's the end of the differential fluid. I hope that's been helpful. I'll put links in the video description to all the parts I used, like this Mighty Vac and other things. Hope that's been helpful.